All right, welcome to session D of the Toucan Tropics promo package. And in D1, we are working on a logo design. So far we have created our toucan, we've created our t-shirt design, following kind of a Patagonia design. And now we're going to come to Artboard 3 and we are going to work on this logo. So in the properties panel up here on the top right, if you're not clicked on anything, you should be able to click the artboard drop down and go to artboard 3, which will position that third artboard, which we created earlier, as a 500 pixel square right smack in the middle. We are going to use the ellipse tool. So remember, click and drag over wherever your shape tool is and choose the ellipse tool. And we're just going to click one time so we can make this the size that we want. We're going to make this a 450 by 450 circle. So type that in, press OK, and it's going to position it in there. Of course, it's not centered. So let's pop over again to the properties panel over here on the right. Be sure it's set to align to artboard and go ahead and center both vertically and horizontally. Right now, this on mine has a white fill with a black stroke. That's not what I want. Let's go ahead and fill in with the darker orange color from our swatches, which we can access up there in the corner. And then for the outside edge, we're going to go with a 10-point black stroke. And again, always make sure we're using the black that we have set for this project. As long as you're always using the same button, you should be in a good place. All right, so for this one, we're going to create a dotted stroke. This is way different than anything else we've been doing with strokes at this point. And to do that, we can use the built-in stroke panel. That built-in stroke panel is up here in the top corner by where it says stroke and then 10 point. If you click the word stroke, you can bring this up. You can also click it over on the right in the properties panel. And there is a stroke panel, but it doesn't have all these buttons. Don't ask me why. So I usually stick with using this area. Okay, so for this, understand that strokes can be a little bit fussy. If you use random internet tutorials, a lot of times they won't work because your stroke panel is set weirdly in some way, shape, or form. So up here in the top, I always say double check before you begin that it's set to uniform for the variable width profile and basic for the brush definition. Now that'll change later, but if it's giving you trouble, try those options. So anyway, I'm going to click on the stroke button. We are going to, where it says cap, we're going to set it to round cap. That's what's going to make it circles in a minute. And then we are going to check mark the dashed line button. And notice what this does is it's giving us round dashes. We actually don't want dashes, so we're just going to set dash to 0. And right now what's happening is all of our circles are touching each other and overlapping because there's no gap between them. So we're going to give it a gap. I'm going to give it a 15-point gap and press tab so that you can see it. And you can certainly choose your own numbers. I don't care. But that's what this should look like. And again, at this point, mine is still set to uniform and basic, so everything works. Okay, we are going to open up that layers panel. So window layers, we're going to name this. So at this point, we're on this new layer for logo. If we open it up, if we expand it, there is our ellipse. And for this ellipse, I'm going to double click and name this dotted circle. Okay, so that's going to be the dotted circle. Now I'm going to make this wider just so we can see. We're going to duplicate this with two circles sitting right smack on top of each other. And the easiest way to do that is to just drag this layer onto the plus sign, the create new layer icon. So I'm going to drag it down. Okay, so now I have two dotted circles. But what we're going to do is we're basically going to turn off one of the circles so we only can use one. So we're going to let the bottom one be our dotted one. You could even lock it if you wanted to. I'm just going to turn it off. And then my top one is the one that we're going to be making a different circle. I'm going to call this one Fancy Circle. So I'm just going to rename it Fancy Circle. And now the dotted one is hidden. We can't see it. It's underneath because the eyeball is turned off on that layer. Okay. Now there are a bunch of fancy stroke options. So if you're trying to build a logo or just trying to make something look a little more stylized, the stroke options are super cool. But remember that strokes, when we press that Control Y, do disappear. So, you know, that's why we don't see them in these over here. So it's okay that that's what's happening. Just understand that's why. So up there in the Adobe libraries, and we have like a bunch of options for brushes. So let's go ahead and up at the top where it says uniform, there's the variable width profile, and then next to it where it says basic, if we go down, we have a library book, and this is your brush libraries. So I'm going to click on the brush libraries, and then notice that we have some different options for these. So you can also open up the brushes panel. If I go to window and brushes, now we have the brushes panel. I'm going to scoot this down, and same thing, same library book. So we're going to go there, and we're going to go to the decorative one and choose Elegant Curl and Floral Brush Set. It's going to open up yet another panel with these brushes, and what you'll see here are all kinds of different little brush sets. There's a bunch of things in here. So just click through and try. Like, some of them look weird, like this floral one, because it doesn't stretch properly around. You know, that one doesn't work. Some of them, if you can't see them, you're going to have to modify the stroke width on them. And as you can see here on this one, definitely this one is not working with my dashed line that I have going on there. So I'm going to go back into my settings here and just uncheck that dashed line. So we'll uncheck that, and then now again we can go through these different options. Some of them are humongous, and you will have to modify that stroke size. Oops. Okay, that looks like hair. So some are good, some are not, and again, you'll have to mess with that stroke stroke button there to get it to look like you want. Okay, yeah, some of these definitely not very good options for what we're doing for this project. Okay, but you can see you've got a whole bunch of different ones to choose from. This one kind of looks like fire. And yeah, not all of them are going to stick around the edges just because that's how they were created. I'm just going to go with this really basic one here. But again, you can mess around with those until you find one that you like. What it is doing is modifying these brush definitions up here at the top. So as you look there, you can see that is changing up there. Okay, and that gets us through page 25, and then we'll continue on with the next page in just a moment.